Vallabha Girivardhani Jana Vallabha Girivardhani Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Vrajajana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Adi Lila, chapter 7. Is it 153 on the board?
157 on the board.
Okay, I think we're up.
154.
We're up to. We start from 154. So I'll just read the couple of verses preceding this one. Text 154. Prabhuke dekiti asi sakala sanyasi prabhura prasamsa kare sabhavaranasi. Many Mayavadi sannyasis of Varanasi came to see the Lord after this incident, and the entire city praised him. Varanasi Puri Aila Shri Krishna Caitanya Puri Saha Savaloka Haila Mahadanya. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu visited the city of Varanasi, and all of its people were very thankful. Text 156. Laksha Laksha Loka Aishe Prabhuke Dekiti Mahabida Hailya Dvare Nare Pravasite. The crowd at the door of his residence was so great that it numbered hundreds and thousands. Text 157. Prabhu Yabiyana Vishveshvara Darasane
Prabhu Yabiyana Vishveshvara Darasane
Laksha Laksha Loka Asi Mile Se Stane
Laksha Laksha Loka Asi Mile Se Stane
Prabhu Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Yabe when Yana goes. Vishveshvara, the deity of Varanasi. Darashane, to visit. Laksha Laksha, hundreds and thousands. Loka, people. Asi, come. Mile, meet. Say, that. Stane, on the place. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.S. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. When the Lord went to visit the temple of Vishveshvara, hundreds and thousands of people assembled to see him. Please repeat. When the Lord went to visit the temple of Vishveshvara, hundreds and thousands of people assembled to see him. Purport. The important point in this verse is that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu regularly visited the temple of Vishveshvara, Lord Shiva, at Varanasi. Vaishnavas generally do not visit a demigod's temple, but here we see that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu regularly visited the temple of Vishveshvara, who was the predominating deity of Varanasi. Generally, Mayavadi sannyasis and worshippers of Lord Shiva live in Varanasi. But how is it that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who took the part of a Vaishnava sannyasi, also visited the Vishveshvara temple? The answer is that a Vaishnava does not behave impudently towards the demigods. A Vaishnava gives proper respect to all, although he never accepts a demigod to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Brahma Samhita there are mantras offering obeisances to Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Sun God, and Lord Ganesh, as well as Lord Vishnu, all of whom are worshipped by the impersonalists as Panchopasana. In their temples, impersonalists also install deities of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, the Sun God, Goddess Durga, and sometimes Lord Brahma also. And this system is continuing at present in India under the guise of the Hindu religion. Vaishnavas can also worship all these demigods, but only on the principles of Brahma Samhita, which is recommended by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. We may note in this connection the mantras for worshipping Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Goddess Durga, the Sun God, and Ganesh, as described in the Brahma Samhita. So I'll just read the English translation to these verses. The external potency Maya, who is of the nature of the shadow of the Chit spiritual potency, is worshipped by all people as Durga, the creating, preserving, and destroying agency of this mundane world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in accordance with whose will Durga conducts herself. Brahma Samhita 544. Milk is transformed into curd by the action of acids, yet the effect curd is neither the same as nor different from its cause, viz. Milk. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, of whom the state of Shambhu is a similar transformation for the performance of the work of destruction. Brahma Samhita 545. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, from whom the separated subjective portion Brahma receives his power for the regulation of the mundane world, just as the sun manifests the portion of his own light in all the different gems that bear such names as Surya Kanta. Brahma Samhita 549. I wish that the primeval Lord Govinda, Ganesh, always holds his lotus feet upon the pair of tumuli protruding from his elephant head in order to obtain power for his function of destroying all obstacles on the path of progress in the three worlds. Brahma Samhita 550. The sun, full of infinite effulgence, who is the king of all the planets and the image of the good soul, is like the eye of this world. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, in pursuance of whose order the sun performs his journey, mounting the wheel of time. Brahma Samhita 552. All the demigods are servants of Krishna. They are not equal with Krishna. Therefore, even if one goes to a temple of the Panchopasana, as mentioned above, one should not accept the deities as they are accepted by the impersonalists. All of them are to be accepted as personal demigods, but they all serve the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sankaracharya, for example, is understood to be an incarnation of Lord Shiva. As described in the Padma Purana, he propagated the Mayavad philosophy under the order of the Supreme Lord. We've already discussed this point in text 114 of this chapter. Sankaracharya is not at fault, for he has thus covered the real purpose of the Vedas under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Lord Shiva, in the form of a Brahmana, Sankaracharya, preached the false philosophy of Mayavad, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu nevertheless said that since he did it on the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there was no fault on his part. Tanya dosha nahi. We must offer proper respects to all the demigods. If one can offer respects even to an ant, why not to the demigods? One must always know, however, that no demigod is equal to or above the Supreme Lord. Akala Ishvara Krishna Arasa Babricha. Only Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all others, including the demigods such as Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Goddess Durga, and Ganesh, are his servants. Everyone serves the purpose of the Supreme Godhead, and what to speak of such small and insignificant living entities as ourselves. We are surely eternal servants of the Lord. The Mayavad philosophy maintains that the demigods, living entities, and Supreme Personality of Godhead are all equal. It is therefore a most foolish misrepresentation of Vedic knowledge. Translation: when the Lord wants to visit the temple of Vishveshvara, hundreds and thousands of people assembled to see him. Om Gyanatmandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksha Umalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nasaprasya Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. So Hare Krishna, I'd like to pray for all the blessings of all the senior elevated Vaishnavas here, and that we can say something relevant to enunciate philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So here we see this is the story of Lord Caitanya in Varanasi and converting so many Mayavadi sannyasis to Krishna consciousness. How many Mayavadi sannyasis was it? Does anyone remember? 60,000. So we can understand by such an amazing feat, converting 60,000 Mayavadi sannyasis, very staunch. Mayavadi sannyasis in those days in India, very, very staunch. To convert them to Krishna consciousness just like that, very amazing transcendental feat. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his pure devotee could transform such an amount of completely non-devotees. We have difficulties even transforming someone who's, they're somewhat favourable to Krishna consciousness, but they're still caught up in sense gratification. It's difficult to even transform one person. So this is proof of that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Caitanya Radhi Krishna Nahiyanya. That Sri Krishna Caitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from Radha and Krishna. He is sometimes said he's an incarnation, but actually he's not an incarnation, he's directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's the most magnanimous incarnation appearing in this age of Kali, the most merciful incarnation. All the previous incarnations of Krishna, they killed the demons and saved the devotees, Purutrana Saranam Vinashaya Chaduskritam, and preserve religious principles. But Lord Caitanya, he, because in Kali Yuga 99% of the population are Malechas and Yavanas, less than Sudras, Kalo Sudra Sambhava, born less than Sudras, then Lord Caitanya just killed their demoniac spirit. And we see here not only the 60,000 sannyasis who are converted, but the entire city praised Lord Caitanya for this incident. And all its people were very thankful. So this is also very amazing because Varanasi for a very long time has been known as the seat of Mayavad philosophy in India. So what to speak of transforming other cities and towns and villages which Lord Caitanya did, travelling all throughout India. Even the most averse city like Varanasi, where the people were the most averse, he transformed all the people. Hundreds of thousands, it says. So, also an interesting point in the verse from the board is that Caitanya Mahaprabhu regularly visited this temple, Vishveshvara, Lord Shiva at Varanasi. Has anyone been there? Went there once. So, Prabhupada says generally devotees don't visit the demigod's temple, but here we see Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu regularly visiting such a temple. So one may question why. And Prabhupada points out that if we're giving respect to even the ants, And also we, in our teaching, we give respect to even the most fallen souls in Kali Yuga, that they're all part and parcel of Krishna. They all have the birthright of Krishna consciousness, and we respect them, that they all have the right to be once again engaged in Krishna service. So what to speak of the most sinful people in Kali Yuga we give the opportunity for Krishna consciousness, then what more respect should we have for the great demigods? Of course, Prabhupada said we don't worship the demigods, but we respect them as being Krishna's elevated servants. They have very important roles in the universe, controlling the sun, the moon, the rain, etc. And even Prabhupada mentions Ganesh here. He helps remove the obstacles on the path of spiritual progress. This is a verse in the Brahma Samhita. Prabhupada quotes here. So, if devotees visit such temples, it's with the mood of respecting the demigods, not worshipping them. And sometimes we see different devotees, like elevated devotees, like the gopis. They prayed to goddess Katyayani that they would get Krishna as their husband. So also sometimes there's examples of elevated devotees, they pray to the demigods, but not for the purpose of the generally materialistic people pray to the demigods for wealth, fame, name, adoration, position, elevation to heavenly planets. The pure devotees, they pray only to the demigods for that they can become pure servants and lovers of Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's the perfect example of what a perfect devotee is like. He came in this mood of a perfect devotee, a pure devotee. So he's showing us by his example that we can even go into such a temple, but not be sidetracked with the mood of getting blessings from the demigods for material benefit, which is generally what most materialistic people, they only approach the demigods for materialistic benefit. Prabhupada tells a story of a man who was he wanted the blessings of demigods. It was Durga, and so he wanted so much wealth, and so he was blessed with his wealth. But then he gave up worshipping Durga. I've just forgotten how the story goes. Does anyone remember that story? Yeah. Anyway, there's another story and similar. Prabhupada tells a story of a man who's he's at the horse races, and he's worshipping Krishna, but he has mixed motives. He wants wealth, so he prays to Krishna, if you make this horse win, then how about we go halves? So Krishna, somehow, by Krishna's arrangement, the horse wins, and then Krishna's saying, so where's my half? You promised me. And the worshipper said, well, you arranged the horse to win, you've already taken your half. So this is the mood of materialistic people who worship the demigods or Krishna. That as soon as they get their benediction fulfilled, they're no longer interested in worshipping the demigod or the Supreme Lord. So the mood of the devotee is that he only wants to please Krishna without expecting anything in return. He wants to engage all his senses in the service of Krishna, to glorify Krishna, to preach the glories of Krishna, to help other people come to the lotus feet of Krishna without expecting any wealth or name or fame or adoration. And this is the platform of pure devotional service or bhakti. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he always engaged in Krishna consciousness and serving Krishna with love, serving Radha and Krishna. So he's setting the benchmark for us that we should constantly engage in the service of the divine couple, Shishi Radha Govardhandari. And this is the aim of life. Tata Brahma Jigyasha. Now that we have achieved this human form of life, we should inquire, who am I? Who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? What's my relationship with Him? What's my duty in engagement of service to Him? And what is the goal? Achieving Krishna Prem. And as Prabhu said, going back home, back to Godhead. Of course, the devotee, even if he has to take birth again in this material world, he's not phased. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he prayed, my Lord, even if you want me to take birth again in this material world, I pray that it may be in the house of your devotee, even as an insignificant insect. Of course, this is a very elevated prayer. Prabhupada said, no, we're not on that elevated platform, we should desire to go back home, back to Godhead. Get out of this world of forgetfulness, this world of darkness and ignorance, where there's danger at every step. Padam padam yat vipadam natesham. There's danger at every step. Of course, there's so many, dangers that can endanger the body. Prabhupada said there's even danger on the royal road. You may have the best car, you may be on a big highway, but there can be a huge motor accident, and you may be killed. The body may be killed. So there's so many dangers externally for the body, but the greatest danger is that this world is. There's so many illusions and so many attractions that can make us completely forget about Krishna consciousness. So we see 99% of the population, they couldn't be any further away from Krishna consciousness if they tried. So forgetful. And even devotees try for many, many years and decades to bring these people to Krishna consciousness through kirtan, harinam sankirtan, book distribution, prasadam distribution. Still hard to convince one person to fully take up Krishna consciousness. So, but as devotees, we're learning from the example of the great acharyas, Srila Prabhupada, the previous acharyas, and Lord Chaitanya himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna. They're teaching us what is the real aim of life. The modern day civilization, the aim is simply sense gratification. Yanmaito nadi grihamadi sukham hitu cham. That material life means sense gratification as much as possible. And the chief, feature of sense gratification is sex life. But actually this sense gratification, especially this sex life, it's the vehicle, it's the machine which binds the living entity up. The shackles of sex life binds him up to this material world, birth after birth. So this is the aim of the materialist. But the aim of the devotee is different. Nothing for our sense gratification, everything for the pleasure of Krishna senses. And spreading the Krishna consciousness movement far and wide to give all living entities the chance to take up Krishna consciousness. So even the loud chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Even all the immovable objects like the trees, the ants, the birds are getting immense benefit. And even those lower life forms are will get a human form in the next life. Have more opportunity to take up Krishna consciousness, associate with devotees. So we can't underestimate the potency of the spreading of the holy names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and the process of Krishna consciousness. So materialistic life, whether the animal life or the human life or the demigod life, it's all basically the same, geared to the same motive, sense gratification. Like Srila Prabhupada says, you can drink a very nice drink, like a nice lassi. You can drink a nice lassi out of a paper cup, out of an iron cup, a golden cup, or maybe the demigods is like a diamond cup, but the taste is the same. Just like, you may enjoy pleasures like sex life. A beautiful man enjoys sex life with a beautiful woman, or vice versa. The he and she dogs are enjoying sex life, but the taste is the same, whether for the animals or the humans or the demigods. And it's this sense gratification, this attachment to sense gratification, and taking oneself to be the enjoyer and the controller, and completely forgetting about our real eternal relationship as loving servant of Krishna. This misconception of life is what's binding us up birth after birth in this material world. So like in the Bhagavatam it describes like if you water a tree, yatataro mula nisechanena tripyatita skanda pashopashaka, that you can try and water the leaves and branches of the tree, but it's not going to do any benefit. So that's like, pampering the desires of the senses, or worshipping some false master, or even the great demigods. It doesn't satisfy the soul. But like if you water the root of the tree, then that's like compared to serving Krishna. Then all, just as the leaves and branches and twigs become nourished and satisfied by watering the root, so similarly by serving Krishna, all living entities, even the great demigods, become satisfied. Of a screw, like a screw in a microphone. If one screw is taken out, then the microphone, it's useless. And that screw may think that it's, it can enjoy by itself, but it's not properly in its position unless it's connected with a microphone. Then the microphone can work properly. Or like our hand, we may think, well, let me just enjoy so much food, I'll squeeze it in my hand, or maybe I'll put it in my ears and my eyes, up my nose. You won't nourish the body, and you won't be satisfied, and you'll end up doing some damage. But if you simply put the food in the mouth, then all the limbs of the body are satisfied. So as Bhagavatam describes also, Bhakti Pareshana Bhavo Virakti, that devotion to Krishna, complete transcendental knowledge of Krishna and detachment from the material world, they come automatically by serving Krishna. Just as if you eat a nice meal when you're hungry, tushti pushti shud apayona gasham. With every bite you take, you feel pleasure, nourishment, and freedom from hunger. So there's very simple examples that Srila Prabhupada gives us, and this is directly experienced. As Srila Prabhupada would say, we don't need a certificate to state that we're experiencing a higher taste in Krishna consciousness. Automatically, by chanting, dancing and feasting, we're becoming blissful and happy. How blissful was that kirtan before? We could have gone for hours. And so nice Guru Prabhu, always enthusiastic after many decades, still dancing and chanting and cooking amazing feasts, setting wonderful examples. So many nice devotees like this, setting nice examples for all of us that we can get inspiration from. So automatically the happiness of the soul comes out. It's lying dormant there, Prabhupada says. It's lying dormant like two sticks of wood. The fire is lying dormant, but if you're expert like the Aborigines, you can rub the sticks together and bring out that dormant fire. So similarly, automatically anyone, a child, old person, young or old, woman or man, anyone can experience this higher taste of Krishna consciousness by the simple process that Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. He spread this, chanting and dancing. He's given us this simple process. Just chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, dance in ecstasy, and take prasadam to your heart's content. So we have to understand, no matter where we go in this material world, even the elevated demigods, we're not going to be Abrahma Bhuvana Lokad, that no one is happy from the highest planet down to the lowest planet, all the places of misery. But every living entity has to die. And even the trees, they may live for 5,000 years, but what is the use if they're not engaged in Krishna consciousness? So these are the two paths of life, Nivritti Marg and Pravritti Marg. Pravritti Marg means the path of sense gratification, Nivritti Marg means the path of Krishna consciousness. So we see that no one in the material world is happy without Krishna consciousness. Even though they put on so much show that they are happy and satisfied, they're always in anxiety because the material world is Kuntha, place of anxiety. Spiritual world is Vaikuntha, place of no anxiety. So these temples are like non-different from Mayapur Vrindavan, from the spiritual world. They're places of Kuntha, free from anxiety, free from stress. We see even the materialistic people, and even then their so-called places of enjoyment, the nightclubs and the pubs and the horse races and the brothels, still they're stressed and they're in anxiety. They're not satisfied. And even they get some momentary pleasure, they have to come back to the hard knocks of materialistic life. But if anyone can take shelter in these embassies of the spiritual world, like this temple here, Prabhupada stressed on the 5 most important items that we can make advancement of in Krishna consciousness. Sadhu Sangha, associating with devotees, Nam Kirtan, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Bhagavat Shravan, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, Mathura Vas, living in a holy place, and Srimurti Seva Shraddha, worshipping the deity with great faith and reverence. So Srila Prabhupada has given us all those things in which we can engage in 24 hours a day. So we have so much wonderful opportunity to take advantage of these very powerful ways to become purified, become advanced in Krishna consciousness, and reawaken our pure love for Krishna. So the definition of devotion is this verse, Sarvapari vinimuktam tatparat vena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhakta uchite. That we're all under these false designations, thinking we're American, Australian, Indian, Chinese, black or white, woman or man, young or old. But actually we're none of these designations. We're all eternal spirit souls, part and parcel of Krishna. So the business of human life is to always remember this, never forget this, always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, and always look 24 hours a day for ways in which we can serve Krishna, be engaged fully in Krishna's service. Recently, the last couple of years, I've been trying to increase my reading. Prabhupada would say sometimes that his only criticism was that the devotees don't read his books enough. So I started reading a chapter of Bhagavad Gita a day, like the Sanskrit and the English translations, and 5 or 10 purports. And if you read, I worked out if you read a chapter every day like that, you can read the Sanskrit and English about 20 times a year, the whole Bhagavad Gita 20 times a year. And the purports, maybe if you read 5-10 verses a day, you can read the whole Bhagavad Gita like 3 times a year. So we should make a plan like this, like a 10-year plan, 20-year plan, where I want to read the Bhagavad Gita like in 10 years, I want to read it 200 times. The translations, or 60 times or whatever, 30 times all the purports as well. So. I thought, well, the Bhagavatam, if you read 10 verses a day, that's in 6 years, you can read the whole Bhagavatam. So, if we think, well, maybe I've, got 10, 20, 30 years of my life left, or 40 years for some of you young people, or 50 years maybe, then we can make a plan like this. We can read the Bhagavatam like, 5 or 10 times in our life. And, I'm trying to read also like Nectar of Devotion, Caitanya and Caritamrita, like 5 or 10 verses a day. So it's a nice meditation. Sometimes I slip up and I don't read for a few days, and I try to make up, like read 5 chapters of Bhagavad Gita a day, and like that. So it's very nice meditation, but you have to really be like diligent and stick to it. So we should take advantage of all these things that Srila Prabhupada has given us. Increase our chanting, increase our devotion in our chanting, try and get as much association, devotees, come to the temple as often as we can, pray to the deities, offer prayers by elevated devotees, or our own prayers in conjunction with in line with the devotees. Always praying to never fall again into Maya, and to always be engaged in Krishna service. And another wonderful way that we have great opportunity to hear and chant about Krishna and the philosophy of Krishna consciousness is technology. So we have, our iPhones and the Prabhupada jukeboxes, and all of Prabhupada's lectures and lectures from so many other great devotees and sannyasis are there. So practically 24 hours a day. Some devotees, they have these their little iPads or whatever going 24 hours a day in the house. I know Tamal Krishnaraj said one time he went to one of his disciples' houses and they had one of these Prabhupada jukeboxes playing 24 hours a day. And he said that before they started playing it, the Grihastha couple, they were having so many arguments. But once they instigated that program of having Prabhupada kirtan and lectures 24 hours a day, there was practically no more arguments. But he said even for him, he said it was almost too much to stand. It was like you had to be very elevated to just listen to Prabhupada or kirtan lectures 24 hours a day. So we also have to follow in the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and try and actively preach Krishna consciousness. So as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going everywhere, spreading the holy names, Pritavityachiyata Nagaradi Gram, as Lord Chaitanya said, in as many towns and villages my holy name will be preached. So devotees are trying to carry out this mission. We go out with the Harinam Sankirtan parties, book distribution, and we should be fearless in spreading Krishna consciousness. Myself, I'm not engaged so much as I used to be as a brahmachari, but I remember as a brahmachari, we're going out 6 or 7 days a week. That was pretty standard, and we're working all day, going out on books. Sometimes we'd be just collecting funds for spreading the preaching, putting on different projects. But I remember going to the shows like, I haven't been there for a number of years, but I used to go to Sydney show and Melbourne show, Adelaide show, the Easter shows, the big shows, and devotees have been going to these shows for years. Back in the 70s, they were sneaking into the shows and distributing hundreds and thousands of books. So I'd go with my trolley and I'd take 3 or 4 boxes on the trolley, and I'd just go to the gate and just walk in and find a spot to hide the books. And we'd always be battling against the security guys. They'd catch us, usually on average once or twice a day. But they never saw the books because we had them hidden. And so they'd walk us to the gate. And what we did when we first came in, we'd get an exit stamp in our wrist, so if they kicked us out, they didn't see the stamp. So we just walk around the other side of the show and come in the other gate, go back to where the books were and keep working. And you just had to be fearless, that you're doing the topmost benefit for human society, and that you don't care about what the security or police, the establishment think. And even if we got caught by different security guards in the day, it was usually a different guy every time, so they didn't realise we'd already been kicked out 2 or 3 times in that day. And it was these places of hundreds of thousands of people are wonderful opportunities. We'd take in a few hundred books, and by the end of the day they'd all be gone. So I remember once I got caught by one of the managers in the Sydney show, and he walked me up personally, and he walked me past the horse stables, and he says, if you come back again, I'll put you behind these horses. This is what we do to people like you, So you get kicked by the horse. But I just went out and I walked around. I came back in and just kept working. Didn't get caught by him again. But it was funny. A couple of years later, I was collecting donations with a bucket on the street, and who walks down? But he walks down the street half drunk. I said, I knew his name. G'day, Hamish. And he said, can you chuck in a donation? So he chucked in a donation. So many ecstatic pastimes, preaching Krishna consciousness. And I think in the early days, maybe Maharaj was there, but I think the devotees said maybe it was the centennial year, 1986, and you had practically a whole plane, a whole devotees, the whole plane booked out to devotees, and you did kirtan. And so, even places like on the plains, devotees doing kirtan, distributing books in the aisles. I've done that a few times, very ecstatic. Especially on the Indian plains between Malaysia or Singapore and India. There's all Indian stuff, and they don't mind you going around. They don't pull you up. And mostly Indian people, so they're more easily accepting the books. Should assist Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada in spreading this Christian consciousness somehow or other. Today's Harinam Sankirtan going to Byron Bay. Is that right, Vishnu? Byron Bay. So anyone who has the opportunity, go out, chant the holy names, distribute books, and see how people are very ecstatic in getting the benefit of Christian consciousness. This wonderful movement of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's wonderful Sankirtan movement, and which has been also in recent times spread by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada all around the world. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Does anyone have any questions, comments, corrections? Is the microphone available? So, anything, any realizations, any questions? So I'll just read the verse again. When the Lord went to visit the temple of Vishveshwara, hundreds and thousands of people assembled to see him. So this is also possible, hundreds and thousands of people coming to Krishna consciousness. If we just become the hands, the tool in the hands of our spiritual master, then anything is possible. By the mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even a dumb man can recite eloquent poetry, a lame man can cross great mountains, and a blind man can see stars in the sky. So, and we see, different times, there are hundreds and thousands of people come for festivals, and it's so ecstatic when so many people, devotees and non-devotees, are coming for these wonderful festivals and programs that we have in Krishna consciousness. And you go to different countries, and there's India, Bangladesh, Russia. They have tens of thousands of people coming to their programs. Now, when Prabhupada was doing Pandal programs in India, there was it was 10,000 or 20 or 50,000 people coming to some of those Pandal programs. In countries like Russia, tens of thousands of people come for retreats, devotee retreats. Who would have ever thought, right, in a country like Russia, communist country, there's tens of thousands of devotees. Anything else? Anything? Okay. Sri Caitanya Caritamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.